Hi, welcome to Parental Alienation. It's Child Abuse Unfiltered. Thank you all for being here today. Welcome to the new subscribers. I thank you all and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to do a discussion as a part 2 to the CPS one I'd done the other day and their involvement in parent alienation. CPS being Child Protection Services, just in case you don't know. I did a video on the other day and I just wanted to elaborate a few things on that video. When I discussed about the reporting officer that had done the original report on a case that they were doing and how it gets handed down to different people, and the wording that was put on this case, I know it's not an isolated case because I've heard of other ones too, was twisted and manipulated into make this person sound like he was a pretty horrible person. They were investigating a gentleman at the time. But the same thing happens to women too, so don't be naive to think that it only happens to men. They did investigation and all this wording was put down on a piece of paper, and they called this person's family, this young man's family, that they were aggressive and they were abusive. They had said that they were a cult. This cult consisted of 2 disabled people and a carer. That's their cult. Did it get questioning about? No. Did they ask the people involved, the parent involved? No. They were quite rude to the parent of this young man, and they had made the phone call about whether the boy could come and stay with them for a while they did their 2-week investigation. But were quite rude and obnoxious to the person on the other end of the phone, this young man's mother. Conduct was appalling, and he had already decided his decision on that phone call. The way he had behaved to this mother of this boy, he'd already made his decision up about this gentleman's future, regardless of what the situation was, regardless of whatever had happened. Like I said, these guys were on an ego trip back then. They had to prove that they weren't a failing system, that they were portrayed at the news and all over the place at the time, because they were failing. They continue to fail. But they were failing at this time and had to kind of prove a point that their system's working, that we're saving all these kids from unnecessary harm and unnecessary abuse when there was no abuse or harm in the first place. But like I said, the public doesn't know that. They just want to get their numbers up. Anyway, the report gets made, things get twisted around, and then it gets handed down to somebody else. And then it gets handed down to somebody else. And all those people have to go by is that original report. Now, all the way through this particular young man's fight to see his children, he had screamed that he had done nothing wrong, he never was violent, he was never aggressive to anybody, that his parents were nice people, that they're definitely not a cult. Like there's 3 people, that doesn't make a cult. Anyway, when they went to trial and he had asked for the original report to be brought in, they'd lost it. How convenient. So the original report with all the bullshit written on it, that everybody else had to go by, that no one else bothered to pick up a phone and ask the actual person involved in the case, the father or the mother, be it father at this time, but it happens to mothers too, never talked to him about it. Went with the one-sided story of the mother who was pushed into a corner to lie about the situation at home to keep her kids. Like I said before, they don't like to admit they're wrong. So they'll look for other things and they'll look for other things. And if that doesn't work, then they start going, oh, well, you don't want to play ball, we'll just take kids. So then the mother is put in, or the father is put into the position of having to lie to keep her kids. And when it goes to trial and you ask for this paperwork to be brought up as evidence from the original thing, they've lost it. Can't find it. Yet they were quite happy to make a decision all this way through with that paperwork. But when it comes time to show it to a judge who could question whether they all had deliberately falsified papers to make a parent look bad, just to make them look good, they'd lost it. Very convenient. And in the case of the parent being, hypothetically, the mother was pushed into a corner to scream domestic violence against her partner and had to split up and promise not to go near him just for the sake to keep her children. And they'd both gone their separate ways, and the father tried to move on. Mind you, he's not had contact with his child. This woman led him to believe that his child was terminally ill and they would give him no information about this child. None at all. He was not allowed any rights at all. As far as they were concerned, he was dirt in the gutter. Didn't have any rights at all. Nothing was proven. It was like a piece of paper, I said, and they'd lost it. But it was enough that they took his rights away as a father, or the mother. It happens the same. And this woman got pushed into a corner to lie about domestic violence. But the weird thing is, when it went to trial and as she'd moved on with a new partner, and what they do is a background check on everybody, which is probably a common thing, which is a great thing, because you want to know who's going to be involved in these children's lives and are these kids going to actually be safe. And this young man went, yep, go, yes, definitely I don't, go and do a background check on me. I'm happy to do that. And this young man had actually gone forward to the police a few times when there had been allegations thrown around about him stalking this girl or creeping around a house at night time. He'd gone to police to find out whether there was actually anything put on paper about this, because he'd done nothing, and yet he was being accused of this, and the police have said no, there's no investigation, no nothing, no reports even come in about that. Again, this got brought up in the trial, again got shunned to one side because they only wanted to listen to her. And then they do background checks on the family. Everybody was quite happy. The father's side of the family was quite happy to stick their hand up and say, yeah, hey, do one. We're a good family. We've done nothing wrong, never been in trouble with police ever. And there was nothing on that family whatsoever. Did the background check on the mother and that side of the family. Well, there was a bit of a list there. The mother was involved in some pretty assaulting charges. I think they were classed as assault, spitting on police officers. Family was involved in domestic violence quite regularly. Brawls would break out in the house. Yep, this was brought up in trial. Yes, we were, they were saying about the welfare of the children involved in this, and this was all brought up in trial. They had a history. But the icing on the cake was her new partner. Yeah, the new partner had a criminal history of domestic violence. Yeah, I said that right. He had already been charged with domestic violence and had a criminal history for that. And he was the one that was with this new woman, with this young man's children. And there was no proof he'd done anything wrong, but there was proof this other gentleman had. And in the end of the day, because a one-sided story was told, the judge went with the one-sided story and decided that the kids were safer with some people that had a very long criminal history and are now hooked up with a domestic violent person that they were screaming they were trying to get away from one, who never had a history of that, who was never violent and aggressive in any way. But the decision was made that apparently they thought children were safer with people who were known to have a lot of domestic violence in their house. And now she's involved with one who has a criminal history of domestic violence. So you've got to question the system. As I've said many times, this system's fucked up. It's screwed up and it wrecks kids' lives, it wrecks families, it destroys people. Now let's have a bit of a chat about how do you think the father coped with the decision made by the judge. And like I said before in my past videos, I do not blame the judge. The judge is only given makes the decision on the information they're given. It's the lawyers. It's the ICL lawyers. It's which are the Children Independent lawyers, if you don't know. It's the lawyers that are supposed to be working for both parties. It's all just a money game. It's just a money game. They don't listen to both sides. Like, how can they make a decision when one family that were portrayed as a cult and these bad people have never had any involvement with police? There's no history, no criminal record, nothing on that side of the family. Yet the other side of the family, they had a huge list, including the mother, the uncles, the aunties. There was a lot of domestic violence in that house. And then she hooked up with a guy who's known for domestic violence. And the decision was, yep, that's fine. But we won't follow up and make sure the kids are okay. And we won't let the father have any involvement in the children whatsoever. Like I said before, he was told one of these children were terminally ill. This is what this narcissistic person had done to this father. She'd led him to believe his child was terminally ill for 2 years, and the extended family. Proved that was a lie as well. But still got to keep the kids. Fathers excluded from the children's lives. I know one of the fathers have been excluded from their lives from going on 5 years for one, 7 years for somebody else, 9 years for another person. The system's wrong. Every child has a right to see or be with both parents, unless it's proven. If it's proven, fair call. But there was no proof. No proof, no nothing. Yet he was denied. Or she was denied. What happens to the kids? I try not to get upset on these things, but my heart breaks for these kids. These are the innocent little people in this whole screwed up mess. The kids had a close bond with their mother and their father and their family, and then just ripped away and put into a hostile environment with known abusers. And the system says that's okay. The system's got a lot to answer for. And as I said in my last video, I hope these kids come after you. You've got a lot to answer for what you've done to these children. I have to wonder, like they say they care, you have to wonder how they make that decision. Blows my mind. Just blows my mind. And the kids are the ones that suffer. Doesn't it say in the Bible, suffer not the little children? There's too many out there that are suffering because of a screwed up system. A system that cares more about money and playing the bouncy ball game. We talked about last time about how they send you to different courses you have to do. They make you do, if they're screaming domestic violence, they make you do an anger management course, which I've said, like, everybody could learn to keep their anger in check. That's something everybody could be a little educated on, because some people go to the extreme and some people can manage their anger. And if you're lashing out, hitting people, then you really need to be there. But they make you go to these things, and if you can't get in, like if I said before, they want you to admit you've done domestic violence to allow you to be a participant I can't even say it properly, a participant in these courses. And if you don't admit that you've done that, they don't let you in. And then you've got to go back and say, they say, well, why didn't you do the course? Well, they wouldn't let me in. Why wouldn't they let you in? Because I wouldn't admit I'd done something I hadn't done. Not good enough. You have to have a psychiatric evaluation done. You have to have all these things done. And you have to pay for them yourself. They do drug testing on you, which is, yeah, all these things are legit. But when it's done by a narcissist just to prolong the agony of the parents seeing their child, and the court system, well, the lawyers, not the court system, it's not the judge. Like I've said before, it's not the judge. I don't blame any of the judges for the decisions they make, because they're only doing it on the information they're given. The lawyers, it's just a money thing for the lawyers. We'll send him over there for a while. We'll send her over there, and she's got to get a tick of approval from that person. And we'll do some hair follicle tests. Oh, you know what that costs? Over $1,000. Over $1,000. But the father in one of these cases that had done nothing wrong. He was willing and able and yep, do it. Whatever you need to do. Anything. I'll do anything. I just want to see my children. I just want to see my kids. Did everything. Came back positive, not positive to drugs, but everything came back good. Everything came back good. He never lied. He wasn't dishonest in any way. Same thing with the mother. Another mother that I know, the same thing. They weren't dishonest. They were honest and truthful all the way through. Yet they're the ones that got screwed over. Yeah. But the lawyers got their money. The ICLs, they're a little bit on their own, aren't they, some of them? I know I had a run-in with one of those. She was a piece of work. Man, she was a piece of work. She looked at you like you're a piece of shit. Looked you up and down and screw her face up at you every time she asked you a question. Yeah. It's what happens when they get a one-sided story and don't look into the truth. And if you react, you're emotional. That's another thing they do. That's another thing they'll do to you. Another thing that they use on you. If you're missing your kid, that upsets people, yeah. It's described as mourning an alive child. That's how therapists describe it to you. You're mourning the loss of your child who's still alive. But you can't show emotion. You can't show emotion. You can't be upset or angry. No, because they use that against you. You're too emotional. You can't cry because you miss your kids. That makes you emotional. And if you have no feelings, that makes you cold. Yeah. You're traumatised in your childhood by whatever reason. Childhood trauma. Narcissists will bring that into play too. And then they call you emotional again. Oh no, they're too emotionally unstable. She's too emotionally unstable. Shouldn't be around the kids. It's all right for them to be around violence and aggression, but hey, don't cry or be upset around them. And definitely don't tell them the truth. Man, don't tell your kids what's going on. Keep lying to them. That's what they want you to do. If your kids ask you, why can't I see you, Daddy? Or why can't I see you, Mummy? Because Daddy says, no, I'm not allowed to. Not allowed to say that. Mummy won't let me see you. Not allowed to say that. No. They make it so it looks like you don't want to be in their life. And so the kids grow up thinking they're not wanted. Which leads on to a whole lot of behaviour problems as they get older. And each part of their childhood journey, through childhood, through schooling, prep, teens, high school, young adult years. I've known some that are in their adult years or in their senior years that are still dealing with this bullshit. Yeah. I've got to ask a lot of questions about the system that so-called cares for the kids. I'd like to hear some success rates because I hear a lot of failures. And the biggest victim of all of it is the children. It's the kids. The innocent little victims that get dragged into the world, dragged through the parents' arguments, or dragged into mum lying about dad or dad lying about mum just so that they can keep them and not put them into foster care. One of these cases where they weren't allowed to have access to the children and the other parent had the children, they still took the children. They still put them into foster care. There was no explanation given to the other parent why this happened. They just took the kids and took them and put them into foster care. Threatened to hold them there for 12 months while they continued their investigation. Can you imagine the trauma of those children that was inflicted on them kids? One, to be removed from either the mother or the father in alienation, parent alienation, with the mother or the father, and then be stuck with the other person, and then to have them be ripped out of that person's arm too, or that house as well. Yeah. They wonder why kids have issues when they get bigger, why they muck up, why they lash out so much. Just look back at their childhood. Look back at their parents, what kind of life they had. Look if they had to go through the so-called court system. That screws a lot of lives up, big and little ones. Anyway, guys, I hope that put a bit more clearance on the last video in regards to the one-sided story and the decisions made by judges, and the lack of work that the ISLEL does, and the lack of work that the lawyers do in the way of wanting to help these kids. Like I said, I don't blame them all, but there's a lot out there that need looking at. They're still getting paid. They're still getting their money for destroying lives. Yeah, screwed up. Anyway, I'll leave it there for today, guys. Just wanted to do a short one. Thank you all again for being here. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed, I'd welcome you to do so. If you have any short stories to share with me, I'd be happy to hear them. I know there's a lot out there. I know there's a lot of broken hearts, big and little ones. Anyway, we'll keep doing this, keep talking, making conversations, and let's get change. Let's spread the word. They have to be pushed into a corner and make change. If enough of us scream out about what's going wrong, enough of us jump up and down about the mistakes they're making, someone's got to hear it. Someone's got to hear it and act for the sake of the children. Someone who actually cares about the children and the children's future and what their life will be like as they grow up. Don't just make decisions and leave it. Just before I quickly go, one of the other cases that was on the cards where there was domestic violence involved, and it was proven domestic violence. There was hospital reports, there was police reports. It was a proven case of domestic violence. And you got to keep the kid as well. Got to keep the kid because you promised you wouldn't hit the kid. No, I won't hit her. No, we won't do that. We beat our dogs and beat each other up, but no. I used to beat the mother up, yeah, or I used to beat the father up, but no, I won't hit the kid. Promise. So they got to keep the child. And no follow-up. No one checked in to see if the kid was okay. No one checks. They just sign it off on a piece of paper, collect their little bit of money and move on to the next one. Let's go. Make that money, eh? Yeah, I hope you're proud of yourselves. Hope you sleep well at night time too. Yeah, a bit better than these kids sleep, I bet. Anyway, I'll catch you on my next one, guys. See ya.